Welcome back to another Wesnoth Ladder Replay. Today I have a very exciting game with a lot of action, very fast pace, and comeback from the brink of death. So right here we have Stony Drew playing the Drakes. I know one viewer at least will be very happy about seeing Drakes again. And in teal we have Newbie A playing the Loyalists. Now for you guys that you know this matchup, Drakes usually suffer a lot against the Spearmen because of their negative piercing resist on their drag units, but they also have the Saurians, which have very good piercing resistance. So typically, if a Drake player can buy Saurians into Loyalists early on, he should have a good time. And this is an interesting map because it is rather big, which means the mobility of the Drakes can shine quite a bit here. You can play around it. So far, Sonya drew just with 3 Drake ladders to grab the first few villages to get some information, and also 2 Saurian skirmisher recruited. Now, this is not something you see a lot because Saurian skirmishers do perform quite poorly into almost everything that's not the Loyalist Spearman. And I guess the cavalry is kind of a decent trade. I'm not sure exactly what his thought process behind it is, but it is kind of fine in all this water terrain. And it has some decent spaces. So you want to keep them on the 70% tiles most of the time, 70-60%. And so far Newbie also going with a more or less standard opening, just a couple of spearmen and the cavalrymen to grab the villages. The outside. And every single time I've seen this map being played, I just see both players trying to fight up north. The attacking player is trying to get this keep. The defending player will try to the opposite of it. At this point, Stony knows he's playing against Loyalists, so he will move up and just recruit more Saurians. And this is about to become a very big push, because it is about to hit nighttime and there are 4 Saurian units staring down the cavalrymen standing on the village. So we'll see how Newbie can adapt to that one. He also has a leader nearby, and this provides a lot of fighting value. So it's not going to be an easy push. I'm recruiting heavy infantry, and I think this is an interesting choice because heavy infantry, well, it does have decent piercing resist, so it doesn't take as much damage from the skirmishers. This also has bad cold resistance, so it will take decent damage from the augurs. And it is a very expensive unit that typically hard to push with the low movement points. Hard to move around. Could have gotten 2 spearmen instead, which gives you way more HP, but obviously the worst matchup into the skirmishers. Yeah, he can get in heavy infantryman and the spearman at the same time. Well, we'll see how this can hold on. The other side, nothing too special, just getting the cavalrymen in position. We see Stony moving up with both his gliders. Now, they are in range to get hit, but both units are lawful, so they will be disadvantaged at the daytime. And with this positioning, Stony is actually in range to grab these villages, so he does have a decent threat on those, and we'll see how Newbie decides to deal with that. He can try to just lock them with the cavalrymen, although I'm not sure if he's able to lock both of them from capturing any villages. Could try to just go back and sit on the villages. The issue is if you try to sit on the villages, then Sony could just push further in and then even look for the backline villages. And once you lose those, it's gonna take quite a long while to recover them back. On the note, just also getting into position with these units. Now the main issue with pushing it here with Saurians is that you have only 40% in all these tiles around the keep, aside from this one mountain. So while you do have a good matchup, you will have the dodge chance, the tile disadvantage. So we'll see how Stony can play around it. Obviously the augurs with their magical attack don't care about it as much, but 60% and 50% on these units, fighting down on the 40% skirmishers, might actually make this a better trade for Newbie than one would expect. And on the left side, he just decides to surround this one ladder. This leaves this ladder open to take either of those 2 villages. But losing both gliders will cost Stony quite a lot. How the combat goes. Ooh, so far looking good for Newbie. Hitting that glider on the mountain. not the easiest task. And Stony decides to take this village. Again, if your glider dies here, then it's probably not worth it, because the gliders do cost a lot of gold. This one village will pay off in maybe 3 or 4 rounds. And he also pushes in the north, so pressuring from both sides. Usually, this is not something you see simply because you are spreading your forces thin, and you will likely be fighting into the leader at some point. And a level 2 unit, depending, helping with the defense and obviously recruiting units at the same time, will slow down your push significantly. He goes in with 2 augurs and he hits all those shots that he needs to. So, at the first attack, the spearman going down and this 50% tau, Sonny being able to get that one with his skirmisher as well, getting even more hits, and this was such a lucky turn for him. Getting all those hits takes barely 0 retaliation damage. This is a huge swing right now. Newbie has to deal with somehow. Let's recruit another spearman. This is the most cost-effective unit that he can get. Takes out 1 glider, and even though he lost the spearman in the north, killing the glider for 16 gold already puts him somewhat ahead. So he is clearly winning on the left side for now. And moving up with his swordsman and swordsman is honestly a really good unit against Saurians, simply because he swaps to a blade attack, which does bonus damage against Saurians. Only getting 2 hits though, so slightly unfortunate. Can finish it off with the spearman. Another Saurian going down. The infantryman not getting any hits at all though. And now we see him being targeted by magic. I'm pretty sure Sony would have tried to kill it if he had landed more shots, but 0 out of 3 magical hits on this heavy infantry, so it gets to live another day. He switches targets to the spearman, which is a much easier target to hit. Or at least it's supposed to be, but now I think just missing a lot of those hits. Ends up going down, and the Saurian skirmisher close to leveling up. And after the first engagement during the night time, we see Stony being slightly ahead in terms of experience, but behind on gold, simply because his units cost more than the spearman that he was targeting. At the same time, he also has a 2 village advantage that he's holding right now, so it will more than make up for the gold difference from the KD. And getting another one with the glider that he didn't need to take down the spearman. So we'll see how Newbie deals with this, but this is already a lot of pressure coming his way, and it's not an easy task to remove these units. Especially with the skirmisher being close to leveling up and the Saurian skirmishers being very slippery with their skirmisher trait. At the same time, Tony also pushing the left side now. He is recruiting Drake units because he probably will try to fight during daytime on this side when the next swap arrives. Getting a Drake Clasher, one of the best Drake units you can get in this matchup, simply because it's not that high. And he has a piercing stride against all the cavalry. And moving up with his leader, and this is very, very dangerous for Newbie. Because if Stony manages to get this keep and start recruiting from here, then there's no way that Newbie will be able to retake these villages and gain any tempo advantage before he crumbles to the economy lead. He does what he can. That's hitting on the glider that's occupying the village, and this takes way more time than I expected it would. You see, Newbie really struggling with the hits throughout this game for now. Not able to retake this village as quickly as he should be. But getting one skirmisher out here with the spearmen. The spearmen, they are generally not that great into the skirmishers, but again, it really depends on the tiles that you can get on your Saurian units, and right here there are not a lot of good tiles to stand on. I think the Glade and Drake Ladder in the south though, and recapturing 1 village. Still at a 2 village disadvantage, but looking at the KD for now, Sony losing 64 gold and having only 2 kills. So while he does have the tempo and he does have a lot of threats around, also has decent experience on this one skirmisher, he is still slowly losing the trades because of the way that his units are spread out and maybe using his leader to his full potential, trying to get hits every turn. He also does block this recruitment spot, which is the best choice he can make. He forces Tony to go back and shoot from the further away keep. Getting a glider and a skirmisher, and if you've seen last game, on this channel, the last video, it was also Stony versus Newbie, and Stony did resort to recruiting a lot of scouts simply to get to the front line quicker. And for a faction like Drakes that generally have fast units, I don't know if you have to recruit Drake Gliders. I'm not quite sure about their matchup, but the melee attack, that's impact based, actually does very poorly into Cavalryman, and everything else just does average against these spearmen. Obviously, Clashers might be a little bit too slow and maybe too expensive to get involved in the front lines, but maybe getting a Drake Fighter or Drake Burner might be a decent idea as well. Because these scouts, most of their value goes into their movement points and not into the combat stats. We'll see how it plays off for him. He doesn't really have the village advantage, so all he needs to do is keep it up and not lose the trace too hard. It should not allow Newbie to build up any experience. Because this is the best way for Newbie to come back. I'm getting the range hits onto the Southman, and now only 4 experience points away from leveling up. Getting hold of 2 more villages. One of the Sorin Augur. Finally, the Augur with 6% defense gets to dodge some hits. Ooh, but dies to the Cavalryman. So the village still goes over the way for Sony for now. One more Sorin skirmisher going down. One more Drake, and you just see these trades are very easy to take for newbies simply because the units from Sony are disorganized and mostly gunning after the villages. And this is more or less his playstyle. Every time I see him play, he plays a very aggressive, fast-paced game that tries to out-tempo his opponent and gain the village control. But this is a very huge deficit, and I'm not sure if he'll be able to recuperate from that, this village lead. With a 2 to 7 KD. But he still keeps on pushing on, and this is also one of the signature moves if you watch Sony play. He just always keeps on pushing. There is almost no retreat button in his repertoire. Missing a couple of hits. I mean, the RNG is about to equalize. Newbie has already been suffering from bad RNG throughout most of this match, so I guess it's about time that luck smiles his way for once. Still, the Cavalryman ends up going down, and we got our first level 2 unit on the Sorin Ambusher. And the village going back the way of Stony. Now, this is where the Drake Ladder as a scouting unit might actually be advantageous to others. Obviously, he came here rather quickly, but he is also in range to get one more village and maybe even go further and get the backside villages. Including one more skirmisher and going up north. And the attack in the north has been cleared up already, so there's really not much Newbie needs to worry about here. He just needs to reclaim the villages and then defend the push in the south. Push in the south not really that strong, and if he gets onto this keep or this keep and decreases a couple more units, he should be able to push this one back as well without too many losses. Here he goes, he moves up, starts hitting and gets enough hits to just kill his leader. So the leader does get quite low from all these combats, but I don't think the kill chances are good enough for going in this place. Ooh, that RNG hit. One going down, but another one, and he lost one more clasher. So denying XP is what the Stony should be doing here, and we see RNG almost equal, but Stony always down double the amount of gold. Now, if you look at the actually fielded units and the gold that he has, I think it is somewhat similar to Newbie just having one more unit on the field. Actually 2 more units, they're just worth a bit less. So these villages almost equalize the bad KD that Sony has. Interesting thing, but it's not quite enough, and in the end, if your KD looks like this, then you are most likely losing out on experience points, and a lot of these units have 1 or 2 kills worth of experience. So if you're just barely getting out even after forcing yourself onto these villages and forcing those bad trades, then you will likely be in a losing position. Ooh, interesting choice, using Cavalryman to fight the skirmisher. Usually I would expect them to just go after the glider because of their better resistances. Also, using Spearman is not that simple because they don't do as much damage into the skirmishers. Well, this one did, and he's close to leveling up. So, only with another unit close to leveling. Very bold choice of hitting here with the leader. I'm not sure if he's in kill range. It would require quite a bit of luck on Stony's side. He does decide to go after the Spearman first, see if he can kill him, and this is really crucial for him to prevent any level ups. If you if you paid a bit of attention the last few turns, Stony does not own any more villages on this side. All of his pressure is gone already. And this is kind of a bad position to be in if your full early game was based on getting villages and getting the tempo advantage. And he just keeps on recruiting units. These skirmishers might get out, they do have the skirmisher trade. This is not an easy position to be in though. They get the Drake glider. Close to leveling up goes down, but this one again only needs 2 kills to get the level. And even the leader, I'm somewhat close to going into level 3 over here. And after this has played out, he might go for this village at this in a kind of rough spot and get hit by a couple of units. The RNG is somewhat similar, and I'm pretty sure 106 plus 31, 137 gold for Stony Drew in play right now. 129 for Newbie. Not sure what he has in the bank, but the gold amount is still kind of similar. Stony tries to keep up the pressure though, and I think this is the best play he can make at this point, because if he plays it slow, then he'll just lose out because he's fighting experienced units at this point. Okay, on trades don't really go the way of Stony. But this cavalryman, even though he's close to leveling up, he should be going down to the ambusher. And it will be a difficult position for a newbie to take this village back. The ambusher being level 2, being on a village, having insane defense over here and pretty good attack. Not an easy unit to deal with. No. So yeah, cavalryman going down, and this skirmisher also close to leveling up. But what does Sony even have at this point to play this game? Can go back, maybe recruit 1 or 2 units. He has a couple of augurs here, so it's not the worst position. They're just not really here to hit any things. I still think this game is playable, but I'm pretty sure Sony had a decidable lead and he lost it. Is getting it back though, with 6 out of 6 hits, getting the infantrymen down and most Saurian units moving up. But also getting hit quite hard on the return. Ooh, both augurs going down. Only 2 units now. This is a huge swing back. Plus 150% hits inflicted this turn. Oh yeah. Now this might be the KO punch that Newbie needed. Because if this Saurians don't go down this quickly, this might still be somewhat of an even game. Maybe even slight advantage to Stony with his level 2 unit. But now the leader is close to leveling up. The heavy infantryman is not too far away. And these 2 Saurians won't survive on their own. And Stony doesn't really have much to back it up either. While Newbie can let his unit, his Spearman regenerate in the back. It's just trying to get some value. Ooh, still missing 1 hit. Just need 1 more on the Spearman to get the kill. At this point, yeah, Saurian Augur goes down. Now the Spearman close to leveling up. We have an infantryman with just 1 kill left. The Ambusher is still trying his best to survive, but at this point, I don't think there's really too much to play for Stony for. He was down 100 gold in terms of KD. Now Newbie with 142 gold on the board against 112, 26 in the bank. But he did stabilize in the background. He does reclaim all of his villages at this point with even income, but way better levels. Even though he does not have level 2 units, they are so close to leveling up that fighting them feels like a waste for now. I do think this game did turn around quite well for him. So all he needs to do is just clean it up at this point. He's recruiting a lot of Clashers. The Clashers are very expensive though, so it's really not the best units to get. You have 2 Clashers going down on the left side, which is again a lot of gold going down the drain. At this point the Saurians might even get better trades, but it kind of feels a bit like desperation, like there's really not much going his way. Trying to kill the Spearman is close to leveling, but not close enough, going down here. So at least getting this Spearman down, but also Sony's starting to lose his villagers to cavalrymen. At this point he has no units to defend his backside villages anymore. His leader is up close, and the only way he wins this game is maybe by getting a leader kill somehow. So I think Newbie will do his best to try and prevent that one. Some units moving up. And I don't think these Clashers are making it out alive. Not against the horde of Spearmen, the mass of Spearmen trying to get them down. So he keeps on recruiting them, even though Augurs would technically be a better unit. Maybe he could get two skirmishers and actually try to go for the leader kill. It's really not that likely, especially the amount of HP that the Salesman has. But it is probably still the best win condition you have at this point, unless you roll some lucky hits. I think 2 gliders, maybe trying to get some mobility to reclaim the villages. I mean, I can see the ideas for the comeback. Still, the Spearmen just having way better trades into the Clashers. Ooh, and one more going down again. One Spearman close to leveling up. This is kind of the name of the game, even though there are no level 2 units yet. Just having the experience gives you a huge advantage. You'll be holding 10 villages now. And probably not losing them anytime soon. Oh, again, some very unlucky turns for Stony, just taking a lot of damage without being able to even kill the Spearman. Oof, oof, oof. Has to use his glider for this one. While this game had a lot of RNG strings, it's still interesting how the dynamic played out. Get a Javelin here, level up, generally good into Drakes, and bad into Saurians. Well, it's not the worst anti-Saurian unit. It has a very decent response there. But yeah, we see Sony just trying to level up his skirmisher into level 3 unit. I don't think there's any comeback chance, so just playing on for a little bit longer. Having some fun with the game. And honestly, I haven't really looked into this game too deeply in terms of what Sony could do better. He had quite a decent tempo advantage, but I think he probably just threw away too many units for the combat, and while fighting into the enemy leader plus the reinforcement advantage is not that easy either way. I think with the position he had, he might have just wanted to run far away and get some of the backside villages, make it really difficult for Newbie to concentrate his forces, because what this Tony basically did was playing around one village here and maybe 1 or 2 villages here, which meant that Newbie could use his units on the same spot, try to form a defensive line, especially this slow heavy infantry that was able to hit mostly every turn. So this is a different playstyle, and I know that this specific playstyle of Stony has its merit. It didn't work out this time, but I think it was just a really fun game to watch. So while this plays out in the background, I don't think there's much happening anymore. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. And tell me what you think about this. Especially what you think about Sony's strategy in general, because we did see him on the channel a couple of times. And it is always interesting how he gets the early tempo advantage and then somehow his opponent can come back. Maybe he oversteps a little bit. Get our level 3 Saurian flanker over here. Finally the level up, but I don't think this Saurian flanker is able to fight against this army of loyalist units. Cosman also just healing from standing still, and we see the leader kill to end the match. The leader on leader combat. The roll guard is the last level up, so that's the game. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next video.